And welcome once again to the Grounded Bag podcast. For those of you who do not know, my name is Aisha Ansah, and I am your Afrocentric friend, but also a human at the same time, going through life experiences, education, home ownership, budgeting as a young person. It has not been easy, but what I would say is that what has helped me is that I had a lot of direction, but I also had to grow and learn for myself and how and where I fit in it. So the grounded bag is all about us. We all got baggage, right? We all got something. Some of us got more than others because by ways of the emotional toll that we've carried, the stressors that we've carried, everything that we've carried. So now this is the time to lay it all out. Empty the bag. Empty the bag so that way we can be able to move forward lighter. So before we get into everything, if y'all have not already, please subscribe to Rooted with Aisha so that you don't miss any videos and podcasts like this. And also so that way you're able to stay in tune with how this podcast is going to be just getting into a lot of topics and real life issues that we're experiencing. Because as many of you, if you have not been following, I am an MSW candidate at Howard University. Currently, I'm in my spring semester, and then summer semester will be my last term. So I'm almost done with my MSW. So grateful and excited about this journey and what it has taught me. So now I want to bring it to my community, my tribe. So plant roots with us and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos that I publish. And in addition to that, why I wanted to create the Grounded Bag podcast is because I also want to create a space where I'm able to not only share what I'm learning, even with my education, talk about real issues that is existing in our world, but also really get down to the conversations that as young people, speaking for me because I'm a Gen Z, we don't have the space to have these conversations, the deep-rooted ones, as well as conversations that we probably weren't educated on. Even for individuals who are millennials, Gen X, and above, it's time that we unpack our bags, empty out the closet, and actually have a conversation and also have a safe space that many of us have felt as though we were denied or also felt as though we never had the opportunity to actually just embrace all sides of ourselves. So before we move forward, let's pause right now for a moment to step into the grounded bag, whatever bag that you're carrying. Whatever burden, stressor, fear, insecurity, anxiety, because this is a space where we're going to really be slowing things down. Some of our podcast videos may be long, some of them may be a little shorter, because the most important thing is for us to reconnect with ourselves. That's why I started getting back into doing YouTube videos about beauty, about self-care, because that's a part of myself that I neglected or I forgot that self-care and pouring back into myself as an individual was important to even do, because we need to gently bring ourselves back to the main center, because there's so many things that's taking up space, life stressors, individuals in your life that may not very well mean good for you. The government, politics. Where are we going in the world? There's so much uncertainty. There's so much uncertainty. It's not even funny because there's no rush here. No pressure. You don't have to fix anything in terms of coming here all dolled up like me. Or you can just come here and come as you are. And this is just an invitation for you to breathe, notice, and be present. Because above all else, wherever you are right now, allow yourself to settle in. So if you're listening to me or you're cooking, hey, save me a plate. Or if you are traveling, or if you're just trying to have that redirection, I do hope that this podcast is a blessing to you and that as we get into more topics, we're able to really dive into it. But today, let's talk about budgeting, y'all, because we're living in a time where inflation is literally doing the Beetlejuice right now. We don't know if we're going to get the human version of Beetlejuice or if we're going to get the monster version of Beetlejuice. We don't know what we're going to get, right? We're also trying to balance as best as we possibly can. What do we pay first? What do we sacrifice? Or do I buy this? Or do I decide maybe next time I can purchase this thing or this investment? And sometimes we feel as though no matter what we try to do, the game is rigged. No matter if we move forward, we feel as though we're taking steps backwards. So that's why this segment is what are common budgeting mistakes young people make today. Because I can only speak for myself, but whatever is the message can also apply to all of us. Because what are the lessons that we've learned from budgeting, and what are the lessons that we learned from what smart money management looks like? Because even though we're facing uncertain times when it comes to spending, when it comes to prioritizing, we can still have that balance where we can still live a quality life, and also this power of place where you are right now geographically may not be feeding you spiritually, mentally, or the wealth is not attracting to you. So that's precisely why we're really going to be unpacking this, and I'm also going to be learning on the journey with you. So if you are open and sharing your experience in the comments, and let's create this community. We're going to be able to really help each other during these unprecedented times without feeling judged that this person is getting ahead and I'm not. I'm still catching up. Because every Tuesday we're going to be having these discussions and more discussions, and then I will definitely invite others to share their stories on this platform. So I'm still looking forward to that because, as you can see, I'm a talker. But let's definitely get into it, because some smart money making habits, or money saving habits that, in comparison to the generations before me and my current era, I would say I have to start with me. What are some, and here are some questions that I was asked or that I was able to compile so that we can have a candid conversation, is what were some of the money lessons your mom taught you growing up? So let me bring y'all a little closer to me. So for me, I would say what are some lessons that my mom taught me was, if you don't got it, don't buy it. Do not buy it. And because I was raised in a single parent home, but if you ask me on the street, or if you don't know me, you would never know, because my mom raised me with confidence despite not even having a moment to even breathe herself. She raised me and my three other siblings to not only be individuals of integrity, but also be mindful and sound in the decisions that we make, despite our own hurdles that we had to overcome as human beings. So I would say one of the money lessons that my mom taught me is not to be obsessed with money to the point where I made it my God. And she reminds me every single time that obedience is better than sacrifice. And I appreciate that because it recenters me. Even if in the moment my reactions may not give it off. Hey mom, if you're watching, hey. I would say that it sticks with me, because that also makes me conscious that even though I want to purchase this thing, I also ask myself, is this needed right now? Or if this is something that I can purchase next go around? Because there's a lot of elements in purchasing. Sometimes we purchase because if it's a need, or we purchase because we're planning, or if we're purchasing just to purchase. There's a difference between a planning and there's a need. Planning and need means that one, you're preparing if you're planning, and the other one is that you need it now. Whereas purchasing something that you probably know that you're never going to use, or purchasing something that you know very well, it's not a mandatory means of, it's not a necessity. Just to put it blank, it's not needed right now. So the money lessons that my mom has taught me growing up is, do not purchase what I do not need. Be mindful of what I spend, because me and my mom are homeowners. So even during the homeownership process, in which we are definitely going to get into that in the next podcast episode, buying a house, because that's what everyone wants to do right now, because you want to plant roots, or you want to get out of renting, and that is a real thing. You should be able to be allowed to, despite what's happening on a government level or the state level. It's still attainable, despite what's happening, and we're trying to fizzle out the uncertainties of it all. So, as far as budgeting, purchasing what I need versus not what I versus what I do not need, spending what I know that I don't have, and also planning for a rainy day, despite how many rigged cycles of let me save, and then oh snap, the plots keep thickening, so you feel as though the game is played against you and not with you. And the most important thing is the power of prayer. That's something, the most important, that's above all the most important thing that my mom taught me, because growing up, many of us have experienced bad experiences, unfortunate experiences with church, with the overall construct of religion, and the overall construct of how and what God is to us versus knowing what God's and who God's character is. And sadly enough, we are living in times where what people do, what people say mean two different things. Because you've seen the clips, you've seen the Drewski skits, but there's no lie. Because if we're talking about faith, healing over what you can do for me, and profiting, is two different things from what we're seeing and what we're getting. So we also have to really look at this from this perspective, that God does not belong to a building. He doesn't belong to a box. He's everywhere. So even if you're in a bedroom, even if you're in your bathroom, sometimes the bathroom is the best place because it's quiet, and even if you're in your car, prayer is universal. It doesn't have to be done in just a house of worship, as they say. Because if you're saying it's a house of worship, but you're not leading with it, your ideologies, you're inserting that into your sermons, and you're making it more of a you statement and not what thus say the Lord, then that's where a lot of people aren't feeling comfortable and finding faith in belief systems within the church constructs. So that's why it's so important to hold on to your values and don't let those go. And if you don't have values, because not many of us were introduced to that growing up, it is also important to allow yourself to not only exercise the right from wrong morality, because I could say discernment, but that is also a spiritual gift that we have to want and we all have to strive for. But knowing right from wrong also helps us to really sift through and see things for what they are, because a hit dog will holler. So we have to be very mindful of all of that. And one of the budgeting habits that has stuck with me throughout the years is stocking up. You're probably like, what does that mean? Well, getting you your little stockpile of products that you need. If it's food, if it's different forms of necessities. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of not always stocking up on certain things and stocking up on other things. But over time, I've learned the importance of, if it's sanitary napkins, if it's skincare stuff, if it's hair care stuff, or if it's bras and panties, or pajamas before the winter hits. Because where I am, where my family are, it's snowing, it's ice, brothers are shoveling snow, the snow plows are focusing on the highways and not the neighborhoods at the moment. So there's different forms of navigating. So I say all of this to say, being mindful of the times that we're living in means that if it's toilet paper, water, butter, oil, you can do something with that. And flour. You can make a bread, you can fry it, you can butter it up, and water to drink. And canned goods. There's healthier forms that has less sodium. There's reduced sodium options. There is a bigger market than it was in other eras. So I don't want us to develop, oh, this era has more stuff and that era didn't. It didn't. The most important thing is to appreciate what each era brought. Even though there are some dark eras that we do not want to live in or relive. Sadly enough, it feels as though we're stepping into that. But that's why holding on to what stuck with us and got us through those dark times is going to be so needed now more than ever. And most importantly speaking, what you learned at home. If you were raised to open the door, yes ma'am, no sir, those grassroots values of respect. Do not lose that, because that's going to carry you further. And when it comes to like the question that I did receive, was there ever a time you had to really stretch a dollar? Or and what did that look like? So that time when we really had to stretch a dollar, I'm not sure if many of you were raised on food stamps, but when my mom was a nurse for many years, and then she fell sick. So SNAP was something that was introduced, and WIC was something that we had when my mom had us, and that helped to supplement. And that also helped to provide a form of means and support. But most importantly speaking, I've noticed even in, there were some times when she also didn't eat, so we could. So I can't say that I stretched a dollar longer than she has, because she has been the prototype of stretching a dollar or going without so we could eat. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I stretched a dollar to the point where I was able to feed 4 people and not eat. I would say for me, speaking in my context, I stretched a dollar in either if it's, hey, Klarna, Afterpay, Zip Pay. As a college student, there was a point where to save money on books, I zip paid that and I just paid it monthly until I paid it off. So there's different elements of what a lot of individuals do these days of either using Klarna or pay as you go to help stretch whatever you have in your bank account, which speaks to the climate that we're living in of the economy, the groceries being so high that you literally feel as though you have to do pay as you go, and then you pay it over time, and that helps build your credit. But if you miss a couple payments, your credit goes down faster than the Titanic. So we really have to look at all of these factors, but also give ourselves some grace, because budgeting advice is one thing, but how we're able to manage and the common mistakes that we make is another. Because we also have to keep this in mind. Am I going to pay my rent, or am I going to get concert tickets? Am I going to make sure that my student loans month to month gets paid if I have it? Or if I know that I don't have it, ask for forbearance or ask for a form of support and staying in communication, because the worst thing that you want to do is default on your student loans, and then bam, if you ever want to go for another degree, it's going to be harder for you to even attain that goal and reach it. So I say all of this to say the common mistakes that young people like myself can make is when we're misinformed, when we think that, oh, I can do it tomorrow, it's okay. Why wait to do something tomorrow when you can do it today? If you have to write a note for tomorrow on who to call, then make that a priority. But if you are put in a situation where you have to call this person, that person, call your loan officer, financial aid officer to make sure you have enough aid for school, put fire underneath the admissions behinds to get things moving. If you know that you are the primary breadwinner in your home, allocate and make sure that you have more than enough to contribute to utilities, bills, and food. But if you have individuals who are living with you who are of able-bodied, distribute roles. Who's covering what, who's doing what. And there needs to be a level of teamwork. And that was one of the money budgeting advice that my mom instilled. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying that there's not going to be any conflicts, but there's also a form of communication that by any means necessary, this has to get done. I don't have it, but I know you do. Let's sit down and let's talk about it. That's the approach that I had to take when it came to certain things that I needed support with financially, either if it was a subscription, either if it was a utility bill, or either if it was food for the dogs, because we have 2 golden retrievers. So I would say for me, getting that communication and getting that foundational conversation down really helped to open up the conversations about budgeting, about money. And I'm not going to say that me and my siblings always had the best relationships, as far as we never had disagreements. We're humans. We have our own personalities, we have our own ways of doing things. But what I will say is that, and I'm not saying that sometimes we can't be passive aggressive and, not address things in the moment. But what I will say is that I'm very grateful for the siblings that I have. There are moments when I myself have to check myself, and even my mom doesn't she's not going to hold back in reminding me and pulling me back, and reminding me that, one, I'm the youngest, and two, we have to make sure that we don't become an enemy of our own making, because we're already living in a world where there's so much dissension. If it's salvageable and there's nothing is physical, and there's no hostility to the point where relationships cannot be repaired, have that conversation. Because the saddest thing is that when you're going into life and you're making partnerships, if you don't know how to properly navigate those partnerships, that can harm you financially as well. So we have to come to a point where we are putting ourselves in a situation where we can be contributors, supporters, and not feel as though we're a deficit to a plan or to an overall goal. And that's why when I hear my peers ask me, do I believe in saving first or paying a bill first? I'm going to pay that bill first. If it's the mortgage, if it's the water, if it's my phone, I'm paying my bills first. And then whatever is left as an excess, I'll put in a savings. And that way I know that it's there and it's not going to go anywhere. And then as the month and the pay cycles start, I add to it bit by bit. It could be $10, $20, $5. I add bit by bit to it. Because, one, I don't want these lights to cut off of me. Water. If it's the dog foods, because they're on Farmer's Dog, or if it's the mortgage, because I don't want us to go in foreclosure. Like, if it's just those vital things that needs to happen, budgeting and making sure that priorities are in place. I'm not going to do anything fancy and go be a trapeze and I have a bill to pay. We have to be mindful, and also we have to be very intentional, especially at times like this. And when it comes to, what's my stance on credit cards, a tool or a trap? Now, credit cards, it helps you in one breath to build responsibility, to start getting credit, to start building up your credit to where you're paying it off each month to the point where you pay it off altogether. But it's a trap when you think, oh my God, I'm getting all this money. I could buy whatever I want, do whatever I please, but yet without a plan that you have to pay that all back. And I think that's where many of us flounder and fall down so hard, is that we focus on what's monetarily and what feels right versus the consequences of, if we don't maintain this could happen. And I think that's the common mistake. I can only speak to my generation, that we forget, is that if it's Klarna, if it's Afterpay, if it's ZipPay, all these buy now pay laters, if we don't get a plan in place, if I'm doing this buy now pay later and I'm doing this Klarna, this is what I'm going to do to help pay it off. If I do this, then I need to be mindful that, okay, next month that I have to pay that's coming out. Let me set aside some money for that if I have it. Let me see what I can do to, as far as food, let me not eat out. Amen. Let me make a sandwich. Let me make a sandwich. Let me eat like a pauper, so that way I could live somewhat like a prince. But you can successfully eat like a pauper, especially where you live geographically. There are some farmers markets. There are some ways that you're able to actually eat healthy and not feel as though you're sacrificing your health in the process. So we have to really be intentional and mindful, especially as we're living in times like this. Listen, I've eaten ramen noodles. Spaghetti meatballs don't hurt nobody. But I was also introduced to Ezekiel bread. I was also introduced to stir fries, or because back in the day, I'm not sure if y'all remember this, it had that frozen stir fry that had like the sauce and then you mix it and then that's like a whole meal. My mom bought that, and that's how my sister first started like getting familiar with the stove and cooking, and then just starting the process of just getting into it. That was just, it's amazing. So I would honestly say just taking those steps. If you don't cook, you're going to be wasting your money. Or if you don't try to find a balanced way of saving money, then you're going to be draining that element of saving when you should have that element of saving. God forbid you have to buy a plane ticket and hightail it, you don't have it. That's why it's important to understand the priorities and reading the room. The world is different now. We can't just spend that money like it's a music video, and then when stuff really hits the fan, we don't have that opportunity to bounce back. And the saddest thing, that many of us do not have family members, do not have that core group of people and individuals that are there to help us in our time of need, especially financial need. The blessing to me that for my case, that I have is that I do have my family, but the unfortunate case is that that's not the case for everyone else. So I say all of this to say, as we come to the point of we're closing today's podcast, is that we have to be intentional now more than ever. If it's, do I need this? Can it fit me? Am I going to have this going into 2 to 3 years from now? Let me pause on this, because I can possibly find the same thing at an outlet store. If it's a computer, and if I'm going to splurge, it has to be the best one, where I can hold storage, do what it needs to do, and I don't feel as though it's going to crash on me when I need it the most. If it's a car, see the mileage. Has there been any car accidents? Is there like a Carfax? Is there any how are the the car fees? Like, if it's feasible, let me not get a Hummer and let me just get a Prius, or let me get a Kia, or like a small car. Shoot, the Impala, there's nothing wrong with the Impala. It worked back in the day and it can still work now. When it comes to clothes, listen, some consignment stores, y'all, they have it. I remember during Hurricane Irma, we were unhoused temporarily in hotels until we were able to, move back to Georgia from Florida. And different charities helped, the Salvation Armies, they had great plates and cups, different forms of thrift stores, or different forms of thrift charitable locations. They had some clothes, turtlenecks, clothes that look so good. Just wash them and it looks like you wouldn't even know that it was at a thrift. We have to be intentional, because budgeting, especially when it comes to clothes quality, if that clothes can survive a thrift, imagine how many years. Because I still have some pieces from thrifting, Goodwill, and they still look good. With accessories, you will never know that it was a thrift. So just know that budgeting looks different. How you buy clothes, how you eat, cooking. TikTok is here, YouTube is here, different form of tutorials is here when it comes to cooking tutorials. Make it fun, make it conducive for you, and if it's your speed to eat out, have a budget for that. If you eat out every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, make sure that it's of good quality, so that way you're able to still sustain yourself and not feel hungry 2 minutes after you've eaten. There's different levels to how we have to think in times like this. So I'm not here to say I have all the answers, because I myself, day by day, am learning from mistakes, little mistakes, common mistakes made, so that way I don't repeat them. And I myself am also having self-reflections as I even have conversations with you all. And I can say that when it comes to eating out, I've limited that. If we have an occasional DoorDash and my sister's treating, hey sis, we don't do it all the time, especially now. We can't do it now because it's snowing. But also when it comes to how we eat, An occasional KFC. We try to curtail that because I haven't had a KFC since the year started. I mean, if you're counting a wedge because my mom shared it with me, then I don't believe you. I didn't do it. I will not admit it. So I say all of this to say is that our bags look different. It could be financial bags, it could be school, it could be baggage, it could be that man that has to go, or it could be that girl that is all love but we can't be together no more, or it can literally be that place in your life that you're trying to get from. That's a good show, by the way. In case you haven't watched it, we have my mom and I. We did like a from series, um, 2 videos in on my YouTube channel. So I say all of this to say, being intentional and getting from where you're from starts with making a decision. I want to move. Let me start budgeting, eating oodles and noodles, or probably cooking more, or just taking steps to get yourself in the best situation. So you see this background right here? No, I'm not in Bali, but guess what? Every day, I'm going to take that bag and we're going to travel. We're going to go to different locations, because we are travelers, both spiritually, mentally, physically. Don't wait to travel to start experiencing life through heaven's eyes, but also through new lenses. We're living in a world where there's so much hopelessness, fear, wonder, and worry about what to do next. But I'm not here to tell you that budgeting is going to be the end all be all, but it's a start. Let's change our habits, because that's also going to help alleviate and pull back some stressors. And you have to speak this over your life, that I am doing the best that I can, and there's more improvements to be made. And that's something that I learned today. So I'm so excited that we're going to be getting into more exciting discussions, and I'm so looking forward to us really just breaking down and having that talk. And about the home buying process, y'all, I'm gonna invite my mom on that podcast for next week. I'm gonna bring her on because we did this together. We bought our home during the pandemic, and we know what it's like, especially buying a home in the United States of America while black. That's a whole different conversation. I'm not excluding anybody, but our experience was different. They say, oh, you can get tax deductions when you get a house. No, it was not like that. So we'll get into that next week. But if you have not already, please subscribe to this channel, Rooted with Aisha. And I want to thank you all so much for joining me for our very first The Grounded Bag podcast. Meet us and join us here in our spot every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Now, if I publish early or later, still come here on Tuesday, pull up a chair, play me in the background, join me. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to just talk about your own experiences, you can email askrootedwithaisha@gmail.com, or you can comment in the description, in the comments box. It's kind of adjacent to the description box, but in the comments, and let me know how this video helped you, or just if it started breaking the conversations. And I have to say this, talk to your kids about finances. Financial literacy starts with you being open. Sister girl, or homeboy, or brother, or my kids, I can't afford this right now because, one, we are broke. Just kidding. Money is tight. If you want to buy this, let's start raising some money. Let's crowdfund. Let's start to build that responsibility, that there's a value in a dollar. Let's not just be giving it out like it's Magic City. It's important to educate your children from a young age, and as they grow, about financial literacy and about the real. Because when you introduce your children to finance and they pretty much see it as, oh, you have to pay bills, okay, That sounds fun. Yeah, it's the idea of it sounds fun, but when you're doing it, it's a whole different story. Because the saddest thing is I can't tell you how many young individuals like myself have went into the world blind. What helped me is that my mom educated me from a young age and gave me the real about budgeting, about finances, about life, about child support, about divorce, about real life situations. So, y'all, this is a conversation that we're going to continue, but be honest and open with your family and your kids. If you're struggling, we all are, honey, so have no shame in saying it. If you feel as though you're worthless, we feel that sometimes. I've felt that sometimes, but you're trying your best. If you feel as though this bag is too heavy, take a rock out of the bag and put it down. We all got baggage. So that's why I created, and I feel as though this is a personal spiritual calling for me in doing this podcast, because this also just reassures that one, this is so timely because we need this, and two, you are not alone in how you're feeling. So this podcast is for you. This is my love letter to the world. If I don't do anything else in life, I want you all to be blessed by the testimony of what God has done for my life and what I'm praying that He continues and that He does for you. So take care, beautiful people, and I'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay warm. Do not get in those streets. Don't you do it. Stay in your house. Watch the news, watch Home Alone, but do not get in those streets. We're not doing that. Because you cannot expect people to get up out of their car and help you, because everyone is trying to get to their destination. But power of prayer. If you have to get out there, say a prayer of traveling mercies and be wise. When in doubt, go in the direction of the skid. I'll see y'all next week. We don't say goodbye. We say see you later. So see you later.